Before Facebook and that kind of thing came along, I used to amuse myself by writing to the paper. And I've got a copy of a couple of the letters that were actually printed in the local papers, okay? So, I read with interest how Luton men are more likely to die young from coronary heart disease than any other living in the east of England. I seem to remember reading a little while ago that people that live in St Albans, Harpenden and Hitchin have a life expectancy of 4 years more than people who live in Luton. We live in Stopsley, so we're starting a plan to combat this effect. We do our shopping in Hitchin every Saturday. We pay a weekly visit to some friends in Harpenden, not because we like them, because of the health benefits of spending time in Harpenden. We visit our parents in Callington and my in-laws in St Albans. I've calculated that if we spend 18 hours out of Luton in every calendar week, then at the end of our lives we'll be given an extra 146 days. Mark Chapman and Stopsley. Madam, I read with interest John Ball's diary last week, in which he mentions that Central Networks Electricity has placed the tagline, distributing your electricity on all of its vans. Central Networks Electricity really should get with the times and distribute its electricity through underground cables like the other electrical distributors. Vans are no way to distribute electricity. Think of all that electric spilling around in the van. I do hope there is never an accident and we don't have an electric spillage. Printing these. With the mornings and evenings both becoming quite dark, I walk my puppy in Stopsley Park with some concerns that after he has been, I won't be able to find his doings so that I can bag it and dispose of it. I wondered if the makers of the best-selling dog food could add some phosphorescent or luminous dye to the food so that I could easily find the glowing poo when it eventually emerged. I would think that many people would find this a very useful idea. I have some thoughts recently about roundabouts, and I needed to check some statistics about how many largish, or curved, as evidently they are known, they have in the UK. I found this strange that the Roads Minister, Dr. Stephen Ladyman, who didn't even return my call, but his office told me that no one would know the answer. Anyway, I rang up Luton Borough Council and Milton Keynes. I can't believe I was doing things like this, but I just needed to know. Evidently, Luton has 71 and Milton Keynes has 300. If you use very clever mathematics to extrapolate this figure to the whole UK, then this means that there must be 55,500 large roundabouts going to waste. Why don't we use this land to house people? If we built an average of 2.5 houses on every one of these large roundabouts, and bearing in mind the average house in the UK has 2.36 people living in it, we'd be able to house approximately 328,000 people. How's that for an idea, Luton Borough Council? And while we're at it, all the mini and smallest roundabouts, of which there must be many, could be turned into mini allotments. Now, I wrote that, and the next week, someone wrote a letter saying, Mark Chapman, the solver of all our problems, says that he has worked out the number of houses which could be built on roundabouts by some very clever mathematics. So clever, in fact, that it took me less than 2 minutes to work it out. And then I won't bother, but he actually explains how I did it. Like I really felt I was being clever. This one actually caused some controversy and concern. I actually got phoned by 3 Counties Radio. And I did go on, and they recorded me, and all she kept saying was, "Are you serious?" And I couldn't say, because I kind of was, but I couldn't say it was a joke. But so anyway, this is it. I have been thinking about recent conversations about what happens to us when we die. There is talk that we are running out of space to bury people in cemeteries. I suppose there's always cremation, but that does create air pollution, uses up fossil fuels, and I guess isn't for everyone. I, for one, would willingly be laid in the road and covered in tarmac. After my death, and a little roadside service of some sort, it would bring me great comfort to know that I was being useful as a speed bump. I'm sure my family would feel some consolation every time they drove over me, and could be reminded of me by a little plaque by the side of the road. And just quickly, this week, this is actually not a joke at all. It actually happened completely as I'm saying it. I did not. But anything I say, you know, I guess comedians make stuff up. I never have to. If it's something I thought of, then obviously I've made it up, I suppose. But something that happens, it just seems bonkers things seem to happen to me all the time. But this week I went to a British citizenship ceremony at Luton Town Hall. This is where a group of people who have been told they can become citizens have to swear an oath or allegiance to the Queen and promise to abide by our laws. I saw about 20 people get a certificate and a photo with the mayor. I must admit I was slightly sniggering inside when the man introducing the ceremony spoke of Luton's long and distinguished history. It seemed funny to me that all this pomp and ceremony was being used to proudly welcome these 20 people to Luton. Let me say, I'm not one of those people who always puts down their hometown. I've lived in Luton all my life, and I wouldn't want to live anywhere else, but it was still making me giggle to hear someone talk so passionately about it. My sniggering almost made me explode when they asked us to stand for the land of hope and glory. I couldn't believe they were playing something so old-fashioned, and they expected it to be taken seriously, expecting people to salute the flag and bow to the Queen. It was something I noticed in the room that made me stop laughing. I started to realise that there was 20 people, they were being really serious about it. One man was nodding his head with every encouraging sentence about this country of ours. A husband and wife and daughter from Eastern Europe, I guess. They looked so proud as they went up to get their certificate that it just took my breath away. People started clapping each other as they went up one by one to pick up their certificate. Asian man clapped Irish man, Chinese lady clapped African man, Polish man clapped a young man who sounded more Luban than I do. Everyone was clapping everyone, and each one of them was beaming. They looked so proud that I felt bad for finding it funny. I heard one man say that he'd remember this day for the rest of his life, the day that he became a British citizen. If I had to go through all the hoops that they had to go through to get to Luton, would I bother? I guess it's natural to take for granted that you have, so maybe we should all go through this ceremony and pledge that we'll abide by the laws, all of the laws, not just the ones that are convenient, and commit to making things better for everyone. That's my sermon over. Now for a true joke to end with. This actually happened, I promise. At the end of the ceremony, after we stood for God Save the Queen, these 20 happy people queued to pay for their photograph with the mayor. It was like this, and there was a picture of the Queen behind, and you stood with the mayor and he shook your hand. So everyone had to queue, and you had to pay for your photo. And this one Asian lady joked that now she felt quite British because she was queuing.